All right, back to Zoom. Okay. We are now streaming on YouTube. We're going to get started in just 1 second, pulling up my notes. And all right, before we get started, is that Zoom? Oh, hold on. Okay. Had to mute myself on YouTube. Okay, only other thing I need to do now is come to view so that, nope, so that, how do I get this speaker? So this is also going on YouTube, so I'm trying to just get it so that I'm the main, spotlight for everyone. Figured it out. All right, beautiful people. Hey, how you doing? Okay, so we're going to get started because I am going to be very respectful of everyone's time. We have until 7:30. And so for those of you who are new, my name is Attorney LaConya Murray. I am the brand attorney, owner of Off the Mark IP Solutions, and we are in the Genius Lounge for Murray's Law. So that's what we're doing. Murray's Law is when we answer questions live. And the first question that we have, I'm going to just go through it. And then after this question, if there are other questions, then feel free to drop them in the chat to let me know that you have questions. So here we go. This first question is regarding podcasting, but just take what I'm going to say and just replace podcasting with maybe you invited someone to speak live on your platform, right? So my guest wants a copy of the recording. What should I do? Anytime I get a what should I do question, my first response is, what does the contract say? And a lot of people, especially when it comes to podcasting, they're like, wait a minute, I need a contract for my podcast guest. Yeah, I'll give you 3 good reasons why you should use contracts with your podcast guests. All of our guests sign an agreement. And the first thing it does is it sets the expectation. What can the guests expect? What should you expect from the guests? What do you want from them? And what are the responsibilities of each party as it relates to the podcast? That even like what time should they show up? Are they responsible for giving you headshots or links or anything of that nature, right? So that's the first reason you should use a contract, especially with your guests, is to set the expectation. The second reason you should use a contract is because you're creating intellectual property. When you record that podcast, you're creating intellectual property. And what that contract does is protects that intellectual property that you're creating. Not only does it protect the intellectual property that you're creating during the podcast, it also lets people know how they can use your intellectual property that was created before the podcast was recorded. So for instance, if you have a trade name or a slogan or something of that nature, can the third party just use your intellectual property without your permission? Is the audio, are people having problems hearing me? Okay. Stedman, I think you might be the only one that's having problems with the audio. And if that's the case, make sure you can also check on, we're also streaming from YouTube. And hey, Diana, let's see, let's get back to it. So that's the second reason that you want to use the scam people calling me on a Monday. Cut it out. Okay, so that's the second reason you want to use a contract for your podcast guests, because you want to protect that intellectual property, not only for yourself, but also for them. Again, it's setting the expectations about what can and can't be done, especially as it relates to this intellectual property, especially as it relates to this question when they're saying, hey, I want a copy of this recording. And then when they say they want a copy of, they're not speaking of a link to where you posted it, right? They want the actual audio file. We're like, what does this contract say? Am I obligated to do that? So the third reason is you want to use a contract for your podcast guest is that it provides, it's going to give you rights. It's going to give you the right to edit that audio the way that you want to be edited without any feedback or input from your guest. And it's going to let you distribute it the way that you want to, because you're going to have them sign over rights as it relates to this episode. So if you're not using an agreement with your speakers, please do. We use them for our podcast guests at the end of this month on the, I don't know the day, I think it's the 27th, but the fourth Thursday of this month, we're having our masterclass for the insiders, and we sent an agreement to our guest speaker. That's just what we do. We use contracts. So let's say, which is typically the response, people like, I don't have a contract. So if you don't have a contract to refer to, you want to consider this as it relates to this person asking for the audio file. First, no, you're not obligated to share that file with that guest, especially if there's no contract. You're not obligated to. And if you're thinking about and trying to weigh your options of whether or not you should do it, what I want you to consider is, if you share this file, then what? Then what? So are they going to be free to share this audio file anywhere they want to? Can they add it to their podcast? Like, the whole reason that you created and you have this file in the first place and invited them as a guest is so you can create content and drive traffic to your platform. But now they can get it from another platform. Will they be allowed to edit it? And will you have any say-so over how it's edited? So that's something else you want to consider. And sometimes people want the audio file so they can charge for it. Are y'all going to have this discussion before you hand this audio file over? So those are just some things that you want to consider. And hopefully what I did during this, by answering this question, is just not only as it relates to your podcast and other places where you have guests, just when you're interacting with people in general, third parties in general, what does that look like? I know that I had a friend who was on Clubhouse, really heavy. And one of the problems that they ran into is that she had an admin in her Clubhouse group, which I think now Clubhouse has put some parameters on there, but she invited someone to be an admin, and that person took admin as co-founder. But they never had that discussion, and there was nothing in writing. But this person now believed that they co-founded a group that was already set up and established well before they got there. So contracts are important in every aspect of your business. That was the question that was submitted and that we took care of today. Let me see if there are any other questions. Let me check this chat. So Stedman, can you hear now? And let me come over here to YouTube where my friend, Miss Diana is. And she says that she's here live tonight, and I hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you did as well. All right, so if there are no questions, I will go back to, I'm gonna go to my Instagram account and pull.
Well, it's not a question, but a comment, I guess.
Okay.
It was very good that you shared that third point, because I do have an agreement that I had my attorney look over before when I first wanted to do that about a year ago. And I had the expectations on when someone's going to come on, how they should look, the presentation, the different things about promoting it, because sometimes people want to come on your show, but they don't want to promote it. They just want to show up, look cute, and then leave. And so letting them know what the terms and conditions are for both parties for it to be successful. Now, one thing I thought, because it seemed to be standard that sometimes people will give you the audio file, but then the points that you brought up were very good that, well, what can they do with the file? Will they sell it? Will they put it on their platform? Will they edit it in a way that you don't want to have it edited because it might not best present you? So that third point really knocked it out of the park for me, because that was the part that I didn't have together, even though I had it looked over by an attorney already.
But, different people see different things, and their mind just works different ways. So I can see how someone might have missed that, especially if they're not in it. So for me, because I am a podcaster, right? Because I do create courses and things, I have a way of looking at things not only from an attorney's view, but also as a creator's viewpoint. And so that gives me an edge over a lot of other attorneys because a lot of them don't have that viewpoint. So thank you for that. But I'm glad that you were able to get something out of that, because no, we're not sharing audio files. We will share the link to where we broadcasted it, but we're not going to give you our audio file, not just straight up in dirt. Like, why do you want it?
Yeah. So hopefully by the end of the week, I should be inside your insider. If I get accepted into the program, because I might be too old for the program.
No, it's not an age thing. Literally, the Genius Insider is not an age thing. It's more of a making sure that we're looking for entrepreneurial business owners. So no one that's stagnant. We're looking for people who are in business and want to take their business to the next level and want to see it grow and just continually creating and doing things to improve their business. So it's not an age thing.
I mean age of the business, because I think it's at like,
oh,
I've been in business way longer than that. So I was like,
No. So we're just looking for, I'll look over it. But we've already talked. So some people, once I talk to you, once they get your application, you just streamline in already, because we've already spoken. So we're good. Okay. We're good. All right. Well, that was good though. That was good. Any other questions or feedback? Hey, LaToya, Adele, Stedman. And I want everyone to say hello to Miss Adele. Adele has been a godsend for the Murray Law Group, Off the Mark IP Solutions. Let me just say, that she is our contract attorney who helps us with a lot of things. And I'm so glad that we found her. Like, absolutely. Let's see. Let me go to over here. So I saw something earlier in a Facebook group, and the question was like, how do you know what to do first? Do you do your trademark first, your business? Do you get your business entity set up first? Like, what do you do? Which one of those things do you do first? And the response that I saw, I didn't quite agree with. And so the response, when I was trying to find it, but I can't find it, but the response was essentially like, do all the free stuff first and just go ahead and start your business and start selling things before you invest in an LLC and put anything in place. Before you actually do anything to protect your business, make sure you have a viable product. And I'm just of the mindset of, if you do your homework in the beginning, you don't have to wait until you start actually making money to make sure you have a viable product. If you do your business planning and you do your market research, then I'm in the mindset that even if the business doesn't hit as soon as you launch, it will take off. Because a lot of times people think that I'm going to launch a business and then I'm going to be profitable right off the bat. And that's not always the case. So for me, the answer to that question is always, what does your business plan say? Like, have you done your homework? If you've done your homework and you've done your market research, be confident enough. Well, let me take that back. You've done your business plan, you've done your market research, and you are determined to do what it takes in order to succeed, then go ahead and start protecting your business as if it's already successful. And so when it comes to, do I get my trademark first or my business entity? So in this case, they were talking about an LLC. Which one do I get first? With that, it depends on where you are in your business. So sometimes people are still in the launch phase of the business and they're not interacting with third parties where they need that protection that limited liability company is going to give them, right? So in that case, what you want to do is make sure that your brand is protected, because what you don't want to happen is you get ready to launch and then you receive a cease and desist letter because you're infringing on someone's trademark. So you, at the very minimum, what you want to do is make sure to clear the trademark to make sure that you're not infringing on anyone's trademark, right? And then you want to get the LLC once you start basically spending money on your business. Once you get in and start having contracts and hiring contractors and things of that nature, you want to make sure that your business and that you're protected. Even if you don't get your LLC when you're working with third parties, if you don't have that, you can at least use contracts, right? And make sure that when you start providing services, because that's another area that your LLC is going to protect you in, that you start that you have that business entity. And I can understand why people say hold off on those things. It's, here in Alabama, it's not that expensive to form an LLC, but in other states, it can be very expensive. I think like New York, it can be like very expensive to start your LLC. And then you keep in mind that a lot of people aren't aware, or they forget that once you form your LLC, they're going to come at you with, hey, I'm so glad you have a business. Can you give us money now for taxes? So in Alabama, as soon as you form that LLC, you're going to get a notice from the state of Alabama that talks about a business privilege tax. And so we just want to make sure that you are aware of that before you form your business, so you can have that money and it doesn't catch you off guard. Cool beans. And they can hear us on YouTube. Okay, let me come back over here. Ooh. So someone wrote a book, and it was based off of PlayStation. They said it was a good book, but they were using the PlayStation name and the PlayStation images all throughout the book. And now they're worried about being sued by, who's that? PlayStation is what, Sony? So, and that is absolutely something that you should worry about as far as when you're using other people's intellectual property, especially their images. So when it comes to images, like the person that took the pictures, or if they assign those rights, like they own the rights to those pictures and they get to say what you can and cannot use. There's a difference between using pictures off the internet and you going to take a picture of your own PlayStation. So there's a difference. And you have to be aware of when you're using other people's intellectual property. So instead of having a book based off of someone else's IP, as far as like a PlayStation, like you could have made up an imaginary game. We would have still gotten the same point. And that's why I'm always telling people the best thing to do is just create your own. Create your own so that you are in total control of the intellectual property. So, because who knows, what if PlayStation has some type of thing where they have some type of PR hiccup, and now people are like, oh, we're no longer supporting Sony and PlayStation, but you have a whole book based off of PlayStation. All right. And it's still open. Let me check the chat. So remember that Murray's Law is really for you all. So if there are no more questions, we're going to hang it up. Let me see. I don't have any more questions on my end. I've answered all the questions that were submitted. So I appreciate you all. So what I typically do once Murray's Law is over, I will stop streaming on YouTube. Diana, come join us in the group if you can, because I'm going to stop streaming on YouTube and we're just going to chit chat for a little bit. But so let me stop the stream here.
Can I ask a question?
I hear someone said, can I ask a question?
It's Adele.
Oh, hey, let me see. I think I'm, wait. Oh, hey, let me see. I think I'm twice. Wait. Hold on. I don't know why I can hear myself twice, but yes, you can ask. I don't know why I can hear myself twice, but yes, you can ask.
If you are operating a small business, do you think it's wise to utilize employment contracts when you're hiring staff, especially in the state of Alabama, because I know it's at will employment here, but do you think it's wise to use employment contracts when you are operating a small business?
So the employment contract doesn't necessarily negate the at will, and you can put that in the employment contract, but what it can do is protect you in other areas as far as letting them know what the responsibilities are, what their duties are, grounds for termination, how they should act on social media, things of that nature. So it doesn't necessarily affect the at will part of it, but it does set the expectations of the employment. And again, it depends, and which is, I feel like more important as depending on the role that they're going to play in the company and how much access they're going to have to like trade secrets and marketing and not contracts, but your people, customers and emails and things of that nature. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Sorry, I'm driving.
No, don't be driving.
No, don't be driving.
All right, we have a few more minutes. Are there any other questions? Oh, there was a question in the Genius Lounge as it relates to, so all the insiders get access to contract templates. Right now, this one's in regards to the privacy policy in terms of use. And the person wanted to know if they had to put all that on their website, you know? And the answer is whenever you're using a contract template, whether you purchase it from me or someone else, you first of all, you want to go through that template and make sure that everything applies to you. So for instance, just off the top of my head, the privacy policy says that we're going to get information, we'll get your contact information when you make a purchase. But if you're not selling anything, you don't need to have that particular language in the agreement, right? But for the most part, everything, if it applies to you, like the terms of use is not going to be a paragraph. So you do need to put both those things on the website. And the way to do it is you create a page, create a page for terms of use, you create a page for privacy policy, and then in your footer, just link to that page so people can go and read all of it. And you're not trying to put all of that in the footer of your website.
How important is it for disability compliance? Because sometimes you think your website may be compliant and it may be something new that came up that you didn't know about. How would you really be able to stay current or know what is essential? Because there's companies always selling products about it, but how do you really know?
That's a good question. And it's just finding, I would say maybe having a feed to the latest thing. And that's something that we need to upgrade to on our website. I just haven't had a chance to do it, but it's important because you don't want to be caught not compliant and then be sued because people will sue you. I remember when Rihanna first launched Fenty, I believe she was sued for not being compliant. So that is something, and as a matter of fact, that sounds like a good masterclass, doesn't it?
I have a friend, she's a disability and compliance officer for a university. And in attending events with her and different things like that, that's where I learned so much about the legality behind it and the importance and the relevance of these things, you know? And it's like I could only keep up with so much.
And the thing is, we always, we have the, what's the word? Misthinking, that's not really the word I want to use, but we do have the misthinking of saying that, oh, well, we're small businesses, that doesn't affect us. We're still businesses, right? So it still is an effect. Someone wants to know if my company sells a product called the Kiki Kit. Is that something that others can sell as well? They may be able to sell the kit, may have to call it another name if the name of, if that is a trade name for you. Make a note about that. So again, when it comes to intellectual property, it doesn't protect the idea of the kit, but it protects the execution. So the trade name in this case, that's not going to prevent anyone else from seeing, oh, they have a kit that has X, Y, and Z in it. Let me put X, Y, and Z in this kit and maybe call it something else. That's why I always tell people that branding is so important because people will copy your idea in a heartbeat. But consumers are attached to, if you do it right, if you create and you find your tribe, they're going to be more committed to the brand than the product. And we know that just based like Pepsi versus Coke. Starbucks coffee versus 7-Eleven coffee. Like people are committed to brands versus products. Diana's telling me to check my LinkedIn. I will do better about being on LinkedIn. I will be better. I promise. I will be better about being on LinkedIn.
That's how we met.
That is how we met. And I don't know. I'm just not on LinkedIn that much. And I think because it's not something that I try not to be on social media at all, but I typically gravitate toward Instagram because that's just where I kind of hang out.
But you can have your messages go to your email so you know when to check it.
Ooh.
That's what I do.
I need to set up a folder. So I haven't done that because right now I probably have 20,000 unread email messages. But I'm getting better. I have a routine now, so I'm caught up. I think those old ones are just like spam stuff. And so, but I can create a LinkedIn folder that I can go in and intentionally check. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I can do that. Absolutely. All right, beautiful people. Let's see. So we're going to do Murray's Law After Dark. I don't know why I call it that because it sounds like BET Uncut, but how do I get it